Okay, hello there. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the unofficial BLT Power Rankings. So welcome to those coming from YouTube, and also thank you to everyone who's coming here to watch on Twitch. Um, yeah, so the Power Rankings, let me explain a little bit about how they were made first, and then I'll kind of run through some of the rankings and give my own personal thoughts on some of these rankings. And for those watching on YouTube, the sheet will be linked in the description below, so you guys can all check that out. It won't be available to edit, but you can look at them if you're curious, just for reference. So first, how were these made? Obviously not by myself. As you can see, there's a spreadsheet here, but every team ranked everyone, all the other players in every single tier. So for OU, for example, we would have like the Snorlaxes would rank all of the other 14 players that are not playing for the Snorlaxes. And these were based off the week one lineups because I'd sent these out as soon as week one started. That means that for reference, people will not have, or like the teams will not be accurately ranked as to their postseason record because things will change throughout the season. You know, they may have had a sub in during week one. So this is just a full disclaimer that, we shouldn't rank them based, like these rankings you have to take with a small grain of salt. And so we take all of those into consideration and we average the rankings out, and then we determine who the overall best players are for each given tier. And then we add them up for all of the given tiers, and then we get the overall record, and we see like how good each of the teams stack up against each other. So I'll go through each of the tiers and give some small thoughts about each one, and then we'll go to the overall. So, first off, in OU, no real surprises here, but Star was ranked as the number one overall player. Star or Star Master has been one of the best OU players on this site, or just overall talent-wise players on the site, having success in a lot of different tiers, including OU. TJ ranked second overall here. Also, I should mention that Star was a unanimous number one here, as you can see the 1.0 on the right side. So you can see all of the individual teams, what they rated the players. So like the Snorlax is rated Star as number one, et cetera, et cetera. TJ was ranked number two overall in OU. Not really surprised. TJ has seen a lot of success in recent years. Um, Especially the last couple years in OU and other major tiers, originally being a PU main, but has had a lot of success on Smogon. Yeah, and then you can see Easy, Star Real, TDNT, Kyo, Spookies, Zoro Dark, Airfare. Oh, actually, what I should have done is I should have come up with an aggregate for the um, overall OUs for both sides. I can do that real quick. Let's see, Jirachis, Swampert, Milotics, Snorlaxes, Roserades, Solgaleos, Draco Vishes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which one am I missing? Laprases. And then this is K2 plus, sorry, this is a little bit scuffed, but 4, 5. Um, and then we should be able to see the overall aggregates. Um, let's drag this down and then let's just change these values. So for the Swamperts, we have 3 and the other Swampert slot is at 16, so 17 or 16. I don't know how to. Okay, never mind. I'm stupid. Um, Melodics are at 4 and 8. Snorlaxes are at 6 and 9. And Roserades are at 12, 7 and 12. And let me see. Solgaleos are 17 and 10. Or 17 and 10. Dracovishes are at 15 and 11. And Laprases are at 13 and 14. Okay. Okay, so we got to see the overall rankings here for OU, with Jirachi's in first, Milotic's in second, Snorlax is third, Swampert's fourth, Roserade's fifth, Dracovish and Lapras is tied at sixth, and Solgaleo's at seventh. So let me just do this. Format number this. Okay, this is a little bit easier to read. Okay, so this is the overall OU rankings. So a lot of teams believe that Jirachis have the strongest overall OU. I do know that there wasn't power rankings put out that Jirachis were like one of the strongest teams, and a lot of that also has to do with like support and whatnot. Because like Star's value as the number one overall OU player is very evident, but also like the amount of support that you could get from Star, like him providing teams for all your other slots and being able to check some of those other slots if he's, tuned in to the BLT and like actually wants to win, is like his value can't be understated. But like the Jirachi's overall OU, um, being like first and fourth, this means they're very impressive. Like overall, like OU has always been one of the most important tiers, like in any big team tour, because if you ever go to tiebreak and if two teams are relatively evenly matched, tiebreak is going to be a factor. You have the leg up because having OU as automatically being picked as a tiebreaker always means that you're going to be um, in a leg up in the fucking OU, or sorry, in the tiebreak situation. So there's that, and also you can pick like if you have two strong OU slots, you can even pick double OU, and that would like sometimes put some teams that have like one strong OU slot but one weak OU slot, like for example the Swamperts, according to this ranking at least, have that situation, and so then you would be able to maybe be evenly matched in the first OU slot or like relatively close, and the second OU slot is where you get your real advantage. So surprises here. Okay, so like I haven't been paying that much attention to um, the OU like towards kind of results or anything. Like I didn't really know that Kyo what is Kyo. I think Kyo is Kyotoshi. If someone can correct me in chat whether I'm correct on that or not. But I'm surprised because like I didn't. Well, I mean, they were always like a solid OU team. Oh wait, let me drag this over here so that people can see um, a little bit more of, sorry, like this. So people can actually see the ending over here, or like the OU stuff over here. Okay. Um, so I'm surprised that they were ranked so highly. Not to say that they were ever a bad player in BLT, but like BLT this year in general has been very, very strong, or like is very, very strong. And like you can see even by like players like Reginald were ranked like near the bottom, even though Reginald, like in my opinion, has always been like one of the stronger BLT performers. I don't know if by the stats that's true, but like he's always been someone who has been reliable in BLT at the very least. And so I'm like kind of surprised to see that some players or Hyo was ranked that highly, I should say. Not to say that he's not a good player, but like to rank that highly like Rojinold and MyJava are players that in past BLTs have been good OU performers. This time being ranked pretty low. Like the Reginald actually was ranked pretty low by everyone except for Trace, who ranked the Snorlaxes, not me. Um, and like was ranked really low by some people. Um, so I think competition this year in BLT is like really rough, and so even players that are good, like I think Blidius, was like a W or World Cup of Pokemon starter. Um, but that's like, I don't think they were starting for that good of a team if I remember correctly. But yeah, basically that's kind of the um, rundown for OU. So overall, Jirachi is the strongest OU core, I think to nobody's surprise in the rankings. Milotic's second here with Easy and Spookies with a really solid core. Um, and third is the Snorlaxes with TDNT and Zorodark. Fourth is the Milotic, or wait, fourth is the Swamperts with TJ really carrying that OU core. Fifth is the Roserades with fifth is the Roserades with Kyo as their star player and Luscono. I don't know how to pronounce that. And then the Solgaleos, Dracoviches, and Laprases rounded out, or Lapras and Dracoviches in fifth and sixth, and or sorry, sixth and seventh, and then the Solgaleos in eighth. But it's relatively close at the end. So let's move on to UU here. So UU was pretty. He made top 16. Oh, his OST run. Okay. Um, All right, cool. I mean, thanks for the information. Yeah, like I said, the reason I didn't do the rankings this time, and the reason I'm not making as much content this time around is because I'm just less tuned in to the Smogon scene in general right now. So I don't feel like I'm qualified to like give my opinion that much. And so some things I know mostly fucking outdated to be honest. Like a lot of the stuff that I know was true like a couple of years ago, but like, it's been a while since I've been really in tune with a lot of the stuff outside of like my immediate circle. And that's why we have Trace, because Trace knows what he's doing. So yeah. Um, I think UU has a pretty stacked pool. We have a lot of good players in UU. So for the record, if the two players have like the same score, it just means that they're tied. Like there's just like not that much else to it. It just means that they're tied, and it's random which one goes first. It doesn't really matter. So Luthier was almost a unanimous first place with only one team, the Milotics, or sorry, the the Lapras is rating Shiba ahead of Luthier. Uh, Shiba was almost a unanimous second place, getting two first place votes, one fifth place from the Dracoviches, and then one third place. And then Dunox at third. Myself and Dougzo were tied for fourth and fifth. Plaz, and then Plaz at sixth. Uras Mega or Fejiro at sixth, and Udon Girl at seventh. And like the last few were like pretty clearly fifth, sixth, seventh, which was actually like kind of surprising because I didn't think Udon Girl was really that bad. But like I was talking to some of my to like Trace and some other people about this, and they just think that the UU pool this year is going to be really strong. So I think even though it was rated this way, Udon Girl even won week one against Uras Mega or against Fejiro. So, it's rankings are always subjective. So, take this with a grain of salt. Moving on, RU. RU also uh, at the top, relatively unanimous. Ars9 being ranked as number one, being one of the most consistent RU players throughout the course of this year. Like on all of Smogon, not mentioning like in BLT or whatever. And then followed by Floss, who is the recent RU Open winner, I believe. which is why he took some of those first place votes away from Arsenine. And then John Filch, Splash, Crucify, HJK, HJ, Zorex, and Zero Zero Trip running it up. Not that much for me to say here, but yeah. Moving on, NU also really, really stacked pool, I think. All of the top 5 players rated here, I think I would personally think are like really good players, like that, could go on to like win some like small tournament, like a seasonal basically, on that level. On RCS was the unanimous first place with Ziri at second, and then GXC, Team Charm, and GW all being really, really solid. Um, NU players, and the pool is really stacked. GW being one of the premier NU community figures, being ranked at fifth in this, just like is testament to how good the pool is. And then CY, you can already see that like in this rankings, being that they are um based on week one, I think CY was already moved to Ubers, I believe, in week two, I want to say. So there's going to be some roster shuffling, especially with the BLT rules that everyone on the roster has to play at least one game. So because of that, you'll see that these rankings, while they are the best way that I could come up with ranking all the teams in a relatively objective way, um, still have some flaws that like obviously aren't going to be able to be fixed. So following that, PU. Ninja, the performed very well in the most recent PU Open, which is why he's rated so highly here. He was finished top four. And T. Lennet, also one of the or like has been a big figure in PU for quite a while and has played well. And also, I believe this is his second year in BLT or third maybe, but I think he's making a return to the Labrases. I know that Ziri and Tilana are pretty good friends, so I'm sure that he will try hard and perform well for them. Drud at third here, also a big PU figure, has played a lot of old gens, but has been a big performer on Smogon for quite a while, so not surprising. See him here ranked at third, and then Blimax, Avarice, Patek, London 13, and Size XV. PU pool, I would say, is also relatively strong. You can see near the top that there was actually like a lot of disagreement, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all taking a lot of like there's like a big variance in the amount of ranks that all of them were placed in, with like Blimax going as low as sixth even, but also being rated almost as highly as first. So you can see like it's hard to really rate some or like there was quite a lot of disagreement between for some of these players, and so it's definitely going to be a very heated pool for sure, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see PU play out. Um, LC LC also had saw Cather as being one of the players getting rated as first, almost unanimous first, 2 seconds by the Solgaleos and the Dracovishes, with those being taken by Taz, who is the other player to potentially be considered one of the best LC players. LC has always had a history of being a big attract or like because I think in LC there's quite a lot of top players like compared to other lower tiers. There's always been a lot of attraction to BLT like before Freezeye had played in it. But we've always had some level of the top player representation in BLT. And of course, Kather coming from the BLT or the Tours Room community contributed to that. And so we have a lot of you know, LC players always being, or LC has always been a pretty hotly contested tier within BLT. So once again this year, I think um, Kather, Taz, Ace Hunter, Frisso, and like Excelsior and Wesh Papillon are all pretty good players that are showing up this year. Um, I think it's kind of interesting that the Solgaleos chose to put Frisso in LC where I feel like his talents are a little bit wasted because while Friso is a good LC player, I think he isn't the best in this pool. Like I think K3 Taz and Ace Hunter are pretty clearly ahead of him, in my opinion. And so like it's a little bit of a waste to place so much money and so much of your resources on a player like Friso who can carry your team in a slot where he isn't going to like excel extremely at. I think that was just an interesting decision. Like I don't know if he's going to get moved around eventually, but or maybe he just said, put me in wherever. But the Solgaleos have always, have made some, not always made some questionable decisions, but like this year they've made some quite questionable decisions in terms of drafting, and so you'll see when we get to the overall. But it does look like because they invested a lot of their budget on Friso, and he is ranked as the fourth best LC player, it does take a hit to your overall ranking. So moving on to Ubers. Ubers was one of the closest in terms of, well, actually, I think it was the closest in terms of like number one, number two, um, for this, like in general, with Aberforth and Michael Der Bestie. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Michael Der Bestie 2 or whatever. I apologize if I butchered your name. But this was really close, 1.71 to 1.86. And Michael Der Bestie or Michael or whatever actually had more first place votes with four first place votes to Aberforth's three first place votes. But Aberforth was ranked slightly ahead of him just by overall ranking on averages. And then I think Ubers is also relatively contested um, pool as well this year with Leru being put at fourth, FC at third, Quilly even at fifth, and Quilly is not to be underestimated, one of the like really good overall tours player. So we have like a pretty solid Ubers pool, and like Ubers has been going through, I don't know, like it's just been something that I haven't paid that much attention to, but it looks like there's like quite a lot of players showing up in Ubers this year for BLT, which is good to see. And I know the tier is going through kind of a revolution of sorts, so you know, like within the community, that is, they've changed a lot of stuff and reformed, if they, in a sense. So I do hope that we have a good showing for Ubers. So yeah, we'll see. I think it will definitely be interesting at the very least. So moving on to mono. Mono was mostly dominated by Attribute, who was very clearly chosen as the first place, followed by Kaguya Liss, Maki, Maroon, Plunder, Kev, Prince of All Tacos, and then Louisin, or previously known as Light Screener. Um, so kind of interestingly, Louisin, or Light Trainer, who formerly played for the Snorlaxes, was ranked third by us, and very lowly by everyone else, seventh or sixth, which is kind of interesting. I'll just say it's kind of interesting. But like I actually, I feel like they're like a good player. Um, and I believe they actually swapped over to doubles already, which is, you know, part of why I had said at the beginning, like, don't take all of the stuff that is on this ranking at face value. It's just like we could only, do so much with what we are given. But yeah, Mono, similar to the other, similar to LC, has always been a relatively contested tier within BLT. A lot of really big, good top Mono players have always come to BLT. I know, like, AN had like helped us before. Like Kather was in that slot actually. This was like 4 years ago or whatever before Kather became a top player. And so like mono has always been a tier that like top mono players have come to BLT for. And they eventually even made a mono type BLT and like modeling our format. So, it's been a relatively close link between these two communities. But yeah, this year again we have a lot of top players, and I think I know originally when Mono was first added to BLT, I had a lot of gripes with it, saying that, oh, it's a matchup tier, best of one is not a good format for Mono. But like the more and more I've watched Mono in my years, I think Mono it obviously does have something to do with matchup, but like that like every tier has something to do with matchup in that sense. And like what traditional type matchups you know, like what you would think of traditional type matchup advantages don't necessarily mean that you're going to automatically win. Even this week in week two, Attribute did win a electric versus dark or electric versus ground game, so like it's not doomed just from team preview. That said, these are the rankings for Mono, and then finally Do, which is the last tier, was pretty clear cut here. First place being SMB to nobody's surprise, being a unanimous number one. And then actuarially, number two, edging out Z-Strats at number three, although they traded a lot of 2 and 3 votes, although the one team, SMB's team, did rate actuarially as second place, or first place, I should say. Interestingly, if you look at the Rosa rate, they have the exact ranking that, the popular opinion is. Um, And then following that is Shadow Monster, Crunchman, Jonas, Mamalu, and Fangame 10. And I think like once again this year in BLT, like I said for a lot of the other tiers, but I'm going to say it again, is that for doubles has been a relatively contested. At least the top 5 or 6 players in doubles have all been top players in the past. And I would say like the other tiers that it's not been the case for like are like UU, OU, UU, even like RU and UPU, like generally haven't been that contested, even Ubers, in past years. But this year, BLT, like all of the best players, like because of the cash prize coming from Temp, a lot of the best players have been coming out and trying to, compete this time. Okay, what the heck? My headset just turned off. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but anyway, so a lot of the top players have come around, and someone like Crunchman, who was rated like relatively highly even last BLT, and has made strides in his game, is rated as low as fifth in this, with Shadow Monster at fourth, being one of the more consistent doubles performers in the last couple of years. Um, so yeah, I mean, definitely interesting. I think this has always been the case for BLT stuff. So BLT for doubles to be a relatively contested tier. But yeah, so that's the doubles rankings. And finally, let's go to the overall. I'll give my final thoughts here. So the overall, how this was gotten was just like adding up all the rankings and then dividing by 10, which is like the number of slots in BLT to get your overall like placing. So that means that like on average, the Jiraiya's players are rated 3.77 out of 7, basically. Um, but to get the relative rankings, you just rate the numbers. So the Jiraiya's were rated as the best team, followed by the Snorlaxes, the Dracovishes at third, Laprases fourth, the Swampards and Roserades at fifth and sixth, tied. The Melodics at seventh, and then the Solgaleos at last by quite a lot. So you can see here that by the general manager opinions that the Jiraiya's are actually ahead of the next best team by quite a lot. The Snorlax is by like almost zero point 0.5, and then the Solgaleos are behind the last the second to last team by quite a lot as well, by almost 1 full point, or actually by more than 1 full point. Um, and so there is some draft discrepancies. Like there is some opinion that some of these teams are going to be like quite are expected to perform quite a lot better. And once again, like I would say that I wouldn't be too quick to judge. Like this kind of metric can't judge intangibles of players like, well, I mean, I mentioned earlier that Star, being on the team does boost you for more than just the OU number one. And to the Strashi's benefit, they drafted a team that was rated even this highly, on top of the fact that they have Star, and then, um, you know, teams like the Laprises, even though they're rated fourth at nearly a full point lower than the Jirachis, I would still say are one of the teams that you should watch out for because they have a seasoned manager duo in Ziri and MJ, and highly respectable. And then also one of the things to note is that teams that have a better OU core, um, or even single OU player like TJ for the I believe the Swampards, right? Yeah, TJ for the Swampards, are is something to watch out for. That like they are technically, like I would rate them higher than teams that aren't that don't have a stronger OU core because like I said, OU ends up being one of the most pivotal tiers in all of BLT. Like no matter how you want to slice it, because of the fact that tiebreaker just comes down to one of the games has to be OU. So you have to, if you have a better OU player, you already have a huge leg up in that tiebreaker. So, with that said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm going to be leaving this BLT ranking spreadsheet in the description of the YouTube video, and I'll have the YouTube video up within the next like 20 minutes or so. And so, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. I don't know what other BLT content I'll be doing, but if people have any suggestions, leave that in the comment section down below, or just DM me on Discord, um, and you'll know where to reach me. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.